Hey guys, welcome to Kong Prep Sunday. This week we are going to talk about red light, green light, and it is a segment called Contrary to Popular Belief. So you go onto the internet and you go, oh, my dog's pulling. What can I do to stop the pulling? So the biggest thing here is the internet is full of lots of information. Some of it good, some of it bad. Just like you're Googling anything, you need to have a critical thinking mind. So anytime we're talking about dog training, we want to know the underlying principles happening when we see this beautifully packaged how to get your dog to stop pulling training, blog or video or anything like that. And even for myself as a dog trainer, I do look at these resources of like, how does this trainer teach this? And how does this trainer, work on this? What's their training plan? And at the end of the day, I dumb it down and look at what's the underlying learning principles that are being drawn from to execute this training plan. Now, as an owner, we don't expect you guys to do this. So that's why this segment is contrary to popular belief. I'm going to unpack some of these training plans that you guys see online or videos and break down what's actually happening and whether it's actually going to be useful or not for your problem. So this week we're going to talk about red light, green light. So I'm sure a lot of you are walking along, dog starts pulling, so you're just going to stop and you say, hey, we're not going to move forward anymore because you're pulling. And when you're not pulling, you got to move forward. All great in theory, it sounds very harmless. However, the learning principle we're drawing from here is called negative reinforcement. So we're applying pressure to the leash. I know maybe your dog is applying the pressure. And when they release that pressure, they get what they want. So what's negative reinforcement? Up in the icon here, I talk about what's positive reinforcement and what does that mean. And then operant conditioning also has 4 other principles. We have negative reinforcement, we have negative punishment, and we have positive punishment. And those are the 4 type of operations that are happening in operant conditioning. And if you want to find out more about this, you can check out my online course on how to train a trick. It's free. And I dive in a little bit about this as well. So negative reinforcement, it is the removal of something to reinforce a behavior. So a reinforced behavior is something that will happen more often down the road. And when we utilize red light, green light, we could actually be making the experience really aversive depending on your dog. And so whenever we're using negative reinforcement, it's never really part of the training plan. Sometimes it just accidentally happens. Think of it as an eyelash in your eye and you need to scratch your eye to get it out. So the behavior is scratching your eye, and the negative part of the negative reinforcement is the removal of that uncomfortable stimulus. So same thing, dog runs to the end of the leash, feels the pressure, and to relieve that pressure, they come back. Okay, so in the pulling of red light, green light, we have our dog and we want them to walk beside us, not pull on the leash. So we want them to loosen up on the leash. That's the thing that we're trying to get more of. So we want to dive into the function of why your dog's pulling. Are they just pulling because they're just like really amped up? My dog pulls a lot when she needs to do her number 2. And so I'm like, oh my God, why is she pulling so much? And then she does her number 2. I'm like, oh, she was just finding a spot. She really just needed to like get there. So I give her some forgiveness for that. But at the end of the day, why does your dog pull? Are they pulling towards things that they want to smell? Are they pulling towards the dogs? Are they pulling towards the dog park? All of these kind of things are really important because we want to understand the function of their pulling. However, if that pressure isn't enough to exceed their temptation to that thing, they're going to grow very frustrated. And that's where we get leash reactivity, and why it's not something that we like to adopt as a training method, because of the drawbacks of what could come if that need for that thing outweighs the pressure that they're feeling on their body. Okay, so red light, green light functions that dog feels pressure and they want to relieve that pressure, they step back. And that's why prong collars and all that kind of stuff works. And why we don't use them, because it is an aversive stimulus. That pressure is very uncomfortable, just like the eyelash in your eye. However, for some dogs, it could be an eyelash in their eye, or it could be, you know, burning chemicals in their eye. Terrible, terrible, terrible example there. But you get the idea. They're looking for relief. And that pressure could be more for others than most. And what do they really want at the end, and how badly do they want it? Loose leash walking, can we train the behavior that we want versus them just guessing? And at the end of the day, positive reinforcement is our first go-to method for all training techniques. And yes, sometimes your dog will fly to the end of the leash towards a chicken bone. Do not let them get it. That is a moment where, you know what? Your dog's safety outweighs any type of training method that we should be doing. So if you need to grab them, pick them up, move them away from it. By all means, you need to do that in that moment, and we'll go back to the drawing board and work on a leave it and some loose leash walking. All dogs are a work in progress, and we totally understand that. So anyway, this was this segment of Kong Prep Sunday. And yeah, hit subscribe, hit the like button, share it with people that you think would benefit from this.